Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I am Ashton Pollard here with Tyler Horka from blueandgold.com, and we just wrapped up fall practice number 1. It's a super, super muggy day out here. It was really warm. Tyler, kind of what did you see? Just give us your very initial reaction to what happened at practice today.
Yeah, I'll kind of just go through a rundown. So we got there, and as usual, we saw 15 to 20 minutes of stretching, but it seemed like they were pretty upbeat. They stretched on the opposite end of the field, so that was something new. That was exciting. But yeah, just the normal stuff when they're going through those lines. We'll probably have a story up on blueandgold.com about who was at the front of those lines, because usually those end up being some of the team captains. So you had guys like Avery Davis, Bo Bauer, a lot of the older guys that you would think. So look for that. And then obviously they broke off and did some individual drills, some punt return stuff at the very beginning. Pyne figures into that with Jadarian Price going down with his Achilles injury. Then you had Brandon Joseph, Chris Tyree, and I'm missing one, I think. Matt Salerno, of course. Sure-handed Salerno. Dude had like 4 touchdown catches.
Literally. Tyler and I were joking that he was the MVP of today because every time I looked up, it was like 29 in the end zone. And I was like, oh, Matt Salerno.
We're going to watch, 10 practices this fall, and I think Matt Salerno is probably going to have 40 touchdown passes. He's already had 4, so do the math. He's on track. So yeah, we saw some individual drill work. That stuff isn't very exciting. Guys hitting sleds, quarterbacks literally just going through motions and progressions and throwing to like a GA who's standing in the end zone.
Right.
We didn't see a lot of, good on good, team on team stuff until they did a couple reps of driving down the field, and that was Tyler Buchner. Obviously, he looked like the number one guy. Anytime guys actually got lined up and the offense was either 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, Tyler Buchner was the first quarterback to go. But I would say once they started doing some red zone drill work, and there was a lot of that today, Marcus Freeman talked about it in his press conference afterward, that it's an emphasis in the red zone. Obviously, that's where you're going to score your touchdowns, is in the red zone. I thought Drew Pyne looked really good. He threw a couple of those touchdowns to Matt Salerno. I think he threw one to Jaden Thomas. Braden Lenzy had a really nice catch. And these are touchdowns that Drew Pyne was rolling out. He was on the run, throwing to the left and the right. So he looked really good. Tyler Buchner didn't look bad. There was some erratic play in the middle of practice, and it can kind of snowball on you. He's only a true sophomore. You have to remember that. There was a point where Tyler Buchner probably wasn't playing his best, and it got to his head maybe. And Drew Pyne played a couple of so they kind of switch off. I don't know how many reps each guy gets, but it's like, I don't know, 7 to 10 plays, and then they let the next guy go.
Yeah, pretty even, yeah.
There was a point where Drew Pyne played 10 to 15 reps in a row. So I think he just got rewarded for doing what I said, making really good reads, making really good throws. So those are some of the guys that stood out offensively. Should we just jump right into defense,
let's
too?
Let's step into defense, yeah.
Ashton mentioned that she really liked Jalen Sneed, and I think that's huge because in the spring you could kind of tell, this is a true freshman. This is a guy that should be preparing for his senior prom, not facing some of these offensive linemen that Notre Dame has who are really, really good.
The Ohio State offensive line, ultimately. Yeah.
Right, but today he looked good. I don't know if you saw him make any particular plays.
Yeah, so I think he was out there practicing, and don't read too much into this because it is just drill work, but the linebackers were split up kind of into 2 groups, and one group was your Bo Bauer, Jack Kaiser, J.D. Bertrand, Maris Leofau, who we kind of think of as the ones that are going to start or in the mix to start, and Jalen Sneed was the 5th one with him. JT Tuihalamaka, I think I said that right. Oh Lord. He was kind of over practicing with like Will Schweitzer, a couple of the other walk-ons, and again, don't read too much into that, but I did a little bit of a double take because I was like, okay, Bauer, Kaiser, Bertrand, that all makes sense, and then it was Jalen Sneed, and he also put on around 20 pounds since the off season, so. Yeah, I mean, he looks a lot bigger. I know that the knock on him was kind of he was so good at the high school level that he had to do everything, but then his very specific skills maybe suffered a bit because he was tasked with doing everything. So he just came in, needed to hone those a little bit, and it seems it seems he has, and he's getting rewarded by playing with kind of your elite seniors that Notre Dame has that will start or will definitely be in the mix to start. So yeah, he's who stood out to me. Tyler, no, secondary wise, there were some interesting things at the safety position, forgive me.
Right. I mean, Brandon Joseph was Brandon Joseph, and he's going to be your mainstay. But if you're looking for a second guy, I thought DJ Brown was really good. And like I was saying with Buchner, sometimes it can snowball on you. If you have a bad rep, you let it turn into 2 or 3 bad reps. DJ Brown had a couple of bad reps. He was getting beat. I think it was on 7-on-7. He gave up a couple touchdowns, but then they went 11-on-11 in the red zone. Mm-hmm. He ends up getting an interception, makes another nice, really another really good pass breakup. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to play opposite of Brandon Joseph, I know we've been saying Ramon Henderson making the move over there, but you got to remember DJ Brown, he's a fifth-year senior. He came back for a reason. I think he's really making a strong push to be the second safety. The corners were good. I thought there was a lot of really good give and take. Like Marcus Freeman said in his press conference, there was some good by the defense, there was some bad by the defense, but that just means there was some good by the offense and some bad by the offense as well. Isaiah Foskey absolutely blew up a play and got in the face. I think it was of Drew Pyne, who just had to throw the ball away. There were a couple instances where, and this is another good thing, you're talking about the defensive backs, where I thought the quarterbacks had all day to throw and they couldn't find anybody. Tyler Buchner threw a couple through the back of the end zone. That says your offensive line is playing really well, but it also says your secondary is covering guys. So, and just not to go back to the offense really quickly, though, but I thought Jaden Thomas was really good, and I'll make a quick note about him. He was actually the number one boundary receiver today. Anytime that the ones were repping with each other, he was the number one boundary receiver. And it was also Lorenzo Styles and Avery Davis, the other two wide receivers. So if you're looking for starters, I've been saying a lot recently that I think a really lethal thing would be to get Avery Davis on the field at the same time as Lorenzo Styles, because you have two shifty, speedy guys. There was a lot of that today. So if you're looking for your top three wide receivers, those might be them. And I mentioned Braden Lenzy earlier. That's not a bad guy to bring into the mix off the bench if, he's not going to be a starter like everyone thought he was going to be.
Right, and then kind of sticking with the wide receiver group, I know there's been a lot of hype around Tobias Merriweather. I thought he looked the part of kind of what we've been saying. He is a freshman, and Marcus Freeman kind of mentioned he was asked about what his role is, and Freeman basically was like, if he has a role and we need him, he's going to do it. So a little bit of a non-answer there, but that being said, I thought Merriweather looked good. I think he had a touchdown catch as well at one point, kind of center back end zone. He's really, really tall. Another freshman, not receiver, but tight end that stuck out was Eli Raridan. Absolutely, yeah. He had a touchdown. I believe it was thrown by Steve Angeli, actually. Absolutely huge. Calves, oh my, wow, like he is massive. So if you need kind of that tight end wide receiver hybrid to step in, especially now that Mitch Evans is down at least for a little while, Eli Raridan maybe could slip in there. He's obviously coming off of a torn ACL, so can't really throw him in there for 40 snaps yet, but he looked the part. And then I guess we can kind of just finish up with injuries, if that run down the injuries. So I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, Joe Wilkins, Jadarian Price will both be out for the Ohio State game. Am I forgetting one?
Yeah, he mentioned one more, but it was an obvious one. Mitch Evans.
Oh, yeah, Mitch Evans. And then, so Avery Davis, Maris Leafau, and Logan Diggs. Diggs was there. He was not going full contact. He had a red jersey on, but he was certainly participating. They are taking limited reps, but they're kind of undecided for Ohio State. I think in particular Diggs undecided for Ohio State for sure. When asked about Davis, Marcus was kind of like Coach Freeman was kind of like he's pretty much full go, just taking a few limited reps, but it didn't sound like he'd be sidelined for Ohio State by any means. So seems kind of like they're all back. And then am I forgetting anybody on the injury front otherwise?
No, that's it. We saw Blake Fisher and Zeke Correll leave practice, and at one point I was like, oh no, is that a knee with Fisher? Because he was walking a little gingerly. It's hot out here. And Freeman said it.
We're standing
I think we're sweating. You could probably
and it's
see
really hot.
beads of sweat coming down our faces right now. Those two guys just left with heat exhaustion. And Marcus Freeman kind of put the pressure on him. And he was putting the pressure on everybody. He said, look, we're going to do the same thing, same time tomorrow. So you've got 24 hours to figure it out, figure out why you couldn't make it through 2.5 hours, whatever it was today, and make sure you can do it tomorrow. Because, look, those are two of the starting offensive linemen. That's your center. That's your right tackle. Notre Dame had to go through probably 45 minutes without Fisher and maybe 20 to 30 without Correll. Sure. So, look, these are all the reps that you need to get under your belt preparing for a team like Ohio State week one. So Marcus Freeman wants you to be on the field, drink your water, do your stretches. I don't know what you got to do. I never played D1 football, so that's on you guys. But, I mean, all things considered, it's a pretty healthy team going into week one, especially if Diggs is going to be able to play, if Davis is going to be able to play. That's huge. Two offensive skill guys that you could really lean on.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with the very high-powered offense that they're going to face week one, and then it kind of won't slow down from the offensive side. There are a lot of very talented Heisman-esque players on that roster. Even if it is just one or two on a team, they're going to score inevitably, so Notre Dame's probably going to have to score. But yeah, with that, we will wrap up here. Make sure you check out blueandgold.com. We'll obviously have a lot of write-ups both from the press conference that took place in the the stadium behind us as well as from practice. And otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thanks.